Hey everybody, welcome back. Doing another Falcon and Winter Soldier episode. This time, episode 3 recap, and of course, as always, with Mike and Eddie. So we're gonna jump this episode, get our thoughts and feelings. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Discord link in the comment or description below. If you want to come by and join in the conversations or know when we're gonna post these videos, always have them there. So that way you make sure to catch them on YouTube. And if you're a new person, just kind of stumble along this thing, check out that subscribe button and see what content we got out there in the future. All right, so now we're gonna go see what we all think.
Bring me WolverThor!
All right, we're back with Mike and Eddie talking Falcon Winter Soldier episode 3. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Good to see you, Thor.
Yep.
Drink our waters.
Yes. It was nice seeing you. Mike, you missed out on some football catch with Eddie Q, Brandon. It was super old school, man. So I even threw some deep passes, Eddie. Right.
He was dropping some dimes in back corners of the end zone. It was pretty nice.
It wasn't too bad. Too bad. So anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Episode 3. For me, overarching, it was what I'll call kind of a, Mike, you said this to me prior to recording, somewhat of a setup episode. I agreed with that. There's a lot of different parts and components and pieces and characters that seem to be interweaving. There was some, there's some action and stuff like that. So it's not a full setup, but you could easily just watch and be like, okay, yeah, a lot of things happen. So it was, you still generally agree with that. Is there any high level overarching things you want to say before we get into some detail?
No, I think it's pretty spot on. Like I said, I think it was pretty much a setup episode. It introduced, I think, what will be kind of it introduced, call it new characters, even if there are some old characters. But I think it was just gearing up for these last 3 episodes of what's going to happen. Like I said, some cool stuff, some cool action. But for me, the episode didn't move the needle for me necessarily, but it wasn't bad. It was just like, okay, they're putting things together.
Yeah, Eddie, right. you kind of in the same boat?
Definitely the same way. It felt like I think what we described in WandaVision as a transition episode. Just like, all right, cool. There's we're setting up a bunch of stuff until we get to the next part, and then we're gonna dive right in. And I don't know. I had some mixed feelings in this episode, so can't wait to talk about it.
Cool. All right. Well, the episode starts with our favorite, John Walker, U.S. agent. Well, he's not quite U.S. agent yet, but he went to the Munich hideout looking for Carly and the Flag Smashers, and the part there that he just says, "Do you know who I am?" And I immediately thought, "Yep, this guy's he's an asshole. Like, this is straight up." So I'm not gonna say anything more than that. You guys are on the same page there, I assume. I mean, like, this guy's 100%. A dick, right? Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
He stinks.
Yeah, he's just clearly being, his arc is going in that direction. I didn't see anything else in this general interaction other than that setup. Did you guys pick anything up there? Just when he's kind of going through the hideout and looking for the Flag Smashers?
No, I mean, like, his boy Battlestar, when he was asking him to translate the guy, he did he translated most of what he said, but left a few things out. But I just thought it was so interesting when he said, do you know who I am? And it's just like, you're not, buddy. Like, you're supposed to be a symbol that represents a nation, as they put as they kind of describe Captain America, the OG Captain America, and for you to be acting like you're the law is not what you're aiming for. And then later on you see it even more when you're like, oh my gosh, there's a line he says that really caught me off guard. But yeah that's
I definitely am kind of like, nah, bro. And I watched Civil War. I mentioned this to you guys last night a little bit, or kind of fell asleep watching it. And just the stark difference between them two it couldn't have been more apparent. It's just like night and day. Mike, are you got some thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we kind of talked about it before, but there, when there was that one part where he was in his locker room before he's introduced, and you're like, oh wow, he's nervous. Now, whatever power that being Captain America has given him has gone straight to his head.
Yeah,
he's just fully engulfed being like, I'm untouchable, when I think he'll probably realize he's not.
Yeah. Which, by the way,
but yeah,
we talked about this via text, but I don't think we did it last week. And Mike, you're gonna love me for saying this because of my WandaVision theories, but Part of me wonders if he wasn't tracking Sam and Bucky when they originally had that truck fighting scene. I have a feeling he might be working for the power broker, but we'll see. And just and he actually has been promised this serum and wants it, but we'll see. Well, that's a WandaVision theory there. I don't know. I
don't necessarily hate that theory. It somewhat makes sense, but I also think there was an aspect to that. I think he said he tracked Falcon's rocket.
Yeah, Red Wing.
Yeah.
Red Wing. Since that's been destroyed, he hasn't been able to track them. So there is that aspect where I think he probably was tracking them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that they would be with the Flag Smashers, but I think he definitely was tracking Red Wing.
Gotcha.
For sure.
All right, so the next scene is Sam and Bucky going to see Zemo, which is pretty funny. I enjoyed just basically where it's like, Bucky's talking to him, they have a little test interaction, and then Bucky goes back to see Sam, and you can just immediately tell, okay, what did he do? What did Sam do? Or what did Bucky do? And Sam was kind of the same way, and it's just like, the one thing that I want to ask you guys about as I, ask you about this scene is there was some card in that Machiavelli book, and I couldn't tell what it was. I don't know. So
it was a door key card.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. It was a key card to get through all of security.
Okay. So smart minor. So, obviously Bucky lets him out, but Eddie, this scene. And just kind of, Bucky interacting with him, and then Sam and Bucky's interactions. What were the biggest takeaways that you had, either character development or just like Easter egg, development type wise?
I thought it was cold-blooded when Bucky walks in and Zemo goes to immediately try and flip him.
Yeah.
He just starts saying all the words in Russian. You're like, yo, bud, okay, man.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't affect him, and then they start talking and all that stuff. And then I just love I always love when they do a flashback showing something that's already happening or had already happened. So they show the prison break while he's explaining the whole thing, and then you see him come through the the plastic in the shop, and it's just like, oh my gosh, you got him out. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's just something. I had mixed feelings about this because Zemo, he wants to help. And then he does something evil again. You're like, So the whole episode, I was like, I didn't know how to feel about the guy, but I love how Sam knew. He was like, what did you do? And then he walks through the door, and you're like, oh my god, here we go.
What about you, Mikey?
I will give my take, but one last thing that I want to go back to in that first scene.
Yeah.
That I took intrigue with is it starts with almost like the commercial for the people who were faded away, the GRC,
right?
Right. So I just want to point out, I thought that was very interesting because I don't know if you guys seen the movie I Care a Lot.
Yes.
But it reminded me of this very kumbaya commercial, and then it goes right into John Walker. Basically, they're not helpful. They're not nice. They're basically I would say evil soldier corporation sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought I actually really liked that scene. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but I really liked that scene. I thought it was very introspective, and that group I think is going to come into play down the line because I don't think they're a helpful group in any way. They seem like they're a bad military sort of group. Now. Sorry. I just wanted to point that out.
No, it's good. I'm glad you brought it up, actually.
I took more attention to that commercial part than really the interaction that he had. I actually thought that was way more interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the Zemo interaction, my bad, to jump forward. I liked how in the very beginning he starts to do the Winter Soldier code to see if he turned, and it was I thought that was really cool. But I would say the best part of that whole scene, it reminded me of it had a little bit of the Ant-Man Luis describing a story where it was what if I told you, and it was basically Bucky just kind of telling him a hypothetical, but it was like the story. So I got very much that vibe from it. It wasn't as comedic, but it was still very good. But yeah, that key card, it was a key card to get through all the security. I don't know how it ended up in the book. Like Bucky had that thing planned. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool breakout scene. I thought it was really well done. And I think even from since when he finally showed up in the car mechanics room where all the cars were, like you could tell that their bickering would be very kind of entertaining. Like they all like bickered well together, all three of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and you know, there was the one part that I saw is we continually get this Sam and Bucky character development, which I'm getting more and more sold on wanting to see more of these guys together. You know, hopefully, you know, in movies and or future seasons of a show like this. You know, when they talked about the Sokovia Accords, and you know, Sam did something for Bucky back then, and you know, Bucky was saying, you know, I want you to do this for me, and you know, this just that kind of further development. Like, I need you here. You know, and it was like, okay, fine, you know, let's do this. So I like to see that that character development, you know, further developed, I suppose. So they obviously, you know, they start traveling with Zemo a little bit. He's a Baron, right? He was a military guy in Civil War. He's also a Baron with a bunch of money. You know, as someone who, you know, I know the lore through a mobile game that I play. And I know it's Baron Zemo, but I didn't know like the rich stuff. But that's fine. He's got a jet. You know, he steals Bucky's book. You know, I did like
How?
You know, these guys, all these like little weird assassin people are just like super stealthy. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, whatever. Like, you guys do what you do. It's like what kind of like last week when Mike said, "How do you get on top of the truck? How are they there?" You know, like
easily pickpocket you, bud.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. They find their ways. But one of the things that you know, we keep talking about villains and their, you know, kind of almost good messages sometimes, or something that really kind of grabs you and you get some empathy or sympathy for them. You know, one of the things he talked about that really resonated with me is just the putting people on pedestals and forgetting their flaws. I really liked that line, and it does make me feel like, all right, you know, kind of Eddie, how you said, Zemo, you're like this, oh no, wait, oh, you know, and it's just like you go back and forth with them a little bit, and you find out they're heading to Matterport, which we'll get in a little bit, but in Bucky, or Zemo asked Bucky, like, I need you to be the Winter Soldier. So it's just a plane scene. We'll get into Matterport in a second, but was there any other stuff that I didn't cover that either of you guys kind of saw in this scene, character development or otherwise?
Oh, you got that, Mike?
No, I think you kind of hit it on the head when you kind of do get a realization of Zemo's mindset through this all, because, you know, as soon as he realized it's a super soldier serum situation, he was like, you know, obviously down to help. But talking about, like you said, putting these people on a pillar, I think, you know, you realize that happens, and I think he kind of wants just like a level playing field. But yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, like, Zemo's a bad dude and is going to be bad, but like the stuff he was saying was like pretty introspective in terms of it. In terms of that scene, though, probably the only little funny part that I liked was before they got on the plane, Sam's just like, "Wait, you're rich?" I thought that was just like a little funny scene, but I thought it was a cool, like, just nothing crazy, but I liked, you know, Zemo's conversation.
Yeah. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, Zemo's very much a wordsmith in that regard. Like, he has a lot of good thoughts and theories and everything, but I think the idea of putting people on a pedestal and like forgetting their flaws, that's just human nature. I mean, there's a lot of people that we put on pedestals and we forget all their flaws for whatever reason. We just look past them because, like, we know that deep down they're probably not that person. And with Captain America, though, I mean, it's like, I think we know that Cap's heart's in the right place, even if like what he's doing isn't particularly what he wants to do, but like it's a move that has to be made. But like, we know that he's right, because even when Age of Ultron, when they're on Sokovia, he wasn't gonna leave. He was willing to die on that rock if it was gonna go down. He wasn't gonna leave anybody on that thing. So like, we know that his heart was in the right place. It's just some casualties, and casualties of war happen. You know, so That's hard to get by. I love when he's talking about the Trouble Man soundtrack by Marvin Gaye, and he's describing it, and Sam's like, "That was on a line, but he's absolutely right." Like, I was like, I thought that was so good.
Yeah. Like I said, I think from all three of their banter, I think it was very entertaining. Like from, like I said, from the very beginning when they're in the mechanics room to, like, you can tell they just kind of feed off each other. And I think, like I said, I really like that actor that plays Zemo. I think he's a really good actor, especially in that character, because he's kind of like dry but like very witty at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, can we go back to that scene real quick when he's in the car pulling out stuff and he sees the mask on the seat and he kind of looks at it for a second and then he takes it but like hides it from them like before pulling it out. I don't know. I thought that was intriguing. Like, they see it later. Just curious why you would hide it now.
Yeah, there must be to me, like, and I don't know Zemo's lore that well, but I definitely want to look into it. But part of me tells me that he's got. I mean, I know he wears that mask as a villain, right? I know he does. Right. But part of me wonders about maybe like something with his origin story. Maybe that, you know, he used to go around doing bad deeds with that mask so people didn't know who he was. That's the only thing I can take from it at this point, but I'm definitely interested in it.
Right.
Well, also too, that scene when he's in the car and he sees it, he kind of like touches it first, like it was like an idol for him, like he like it was a memory, you know?
Yeah, right.
He was like, it was like a simple like touch, and then he grabs it and puts it in the bag. So it was like, I mean, it could the mask for his origin, I don't know what it is in the comics either, but it could even be like as simple as, you know, I know in Winter Soldier, like he like had the recording of his family. I don't know if it's something like his daughter gave him, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it could be something family wise, but there was that moment where he like looked at it like he missed it, sort of thing. And then he had a cool golden gun in the trunk,
which was super
sick. That
I did miss that.
Sweet, but,
yeah, I do want to see. I wonder if, you know, on that family thing, Mike, I wonder if maybe there's a lineage in his family of that mask where his father or whatever, you know, maybe wore it. Who knows? Whatever. Somebody, if you know, comment below, please. I'm not sure what that is, but
I think he's supposed to have a sword too, so maybe he gets a sword later. But, or in the comics he had a sword. But yeah, that one thing I took from what Eddie was saying was that moment he looked at it like it was like something he needed.
Yeah,
like it had been a while. Like, I need this back.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get into Madripoor, the next scene was another Flag Smashers check-in. It was pretty minor, but it seemed to try to pull at your heartstrings a little bit for them again. Carly had a family friend who, at the time, I didn't catch the name. Later, we do hear it. I don't remember it off the top of my head. It was maybe Danya or something like that, where they were talking about, you know, she seems to be basically dying. And Carly goes to see her, and that's what's happening. So that was my main take. I think they're trying to get us to like care about the Flag Smashers a little bit. I don't know, Mike. I don't know. Do you have something that you want to add there?
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I gathered on that scene, and there was a conversation later that Carly had. I think most likely they originally stole the serum they had because she was trying to save her mom. But it didn't work because I think she says something in a conversation where, like, you know, it didn't help Alia or whatever, my mom or whatever she said. But yeah, I think I said this, whether I said this last week or even with you guys in conversation, I think these guys are like, I want to say like vigilantes, but for good, like Robin Hood, like steal from the rich to give to the poor. Like, we'll go into the scene that happens a little bit, but they seem to be doing stuff to help people, like their people.
Yeah,
you know, it's nothing like what I originally thought. And it takes a turn that we can talk about later, but they do seem like they're just trying to help people who need help. They're using this super serum as a way to do it, you know?
Yeah. Eddie, you on the same page?
I am on the same page with Mike. It's just, I think for me, it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I see what you're trying to do. I know what you're going for. You're going for that Robin Hood type of thing. But I think the approach, like I mentioned before, is not the way you want to go, because it makes you seem like you're the bad guy, by stealing things rather than actually like going through the process. But I get why you wouldn't want to go through the process, because the process can be long. Yeah. It can be ignored if you're lesser on the totem pole as far as like just humanity is concerned. And so I understand why they're doing it. It's just going about it kind of in an aggressive way might not help your case in the long run.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to the scene that I think Mike's talking about, because I know, there was a feeling there. I'm like, all right, pulling at the heartstrings. Oh, okay. All right. I get why.
That was an emotional scene. Like she walked by, like she walked in, she sees the one kid, and has a little, it has a little interaction there, and then goes inside on her knees, like holding her hand, and she's crying, she kissed her on the forehead, and it was sad. So, and you're like, okay, so she has a heart. You're just like, I get why you're doing this, but also like, would they be happy about the way that you're doing it? That's the question that you have to ask yourself as like a daughter, or I think that was her mom. Is that who it was?
Well, I don't know for certain, but I heard Danya Mandanya or something. I didn't hear Morgenthau. That was ours. Like, so I don't know. It's somebody she clearly cares about was what I was taking from it, and to me, like what we were supposed to take away from this, and a couple other scenes later, is that she's doing this to try to help, like you guys said, these people who can't get what they need, that they're maybe disadvantaged for whatever reason, or they're poor, etc. So that was my takeaway from the scene. All right, so the next scene that we actually get to Madripoor, which is, for anybody who's not aware, is it's in mainly the mutant or comics. You'll see a lot. There was the Easter egg for the Princess Bar, which, I've got my Wolverine shirt donned today. He's got his all Clark Kent-esque, whatever you want to call it, like secret identity of Patch, where he puts on a patch and nobody knows who he is, and he's a bartender. Mike reminded me he was a bartender there, and I was like, so I love that they're, I don't know if they're gonna do much more mutant Easter eggs than that, but I did love that. I thought that was awesome. They're all dressed up. Sam's smiling tiger, who I have no clue if that's a comic thing or not. I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
I'm not sure on that one either.
There's the monkey face, which I also am not familiar with. That I'm assuming that's a comic thing from somewhere. But so we start to go through Madripoor. What were Eddie? I mean, what were the things you were seeing as we kind of work our way through this? There's a couple of scenes we got here, but as we start it, where your head's at? What are you seeing?
I loved how easy it is for Bucky to be the Winter Soldier, and how hard it is for Sam to be another person entirely. Like, Sam's entire approach has just been to just pretty much be quiet and don't say a lot and don't react, just kind of go with the flow. But Bucky was just kind of like, he was that. And so like you see the difference of how each one has been affected by just their circumstances. Like Sam is very much like, all right, I'm not used to this, so I'm kind of out of my element. And Bucky's like, I'm used to this, so I'm very much in my element. And you see that, it's very obvious, especially later in the scene. But just going in, I don't know, just this again. I trusted Zemo. I was like, all right, he's getting him in. He's going to give him a way to meet this person, and then they're going to move forward from here. And then another turn, and I'm like, okay, this guy, he just keeps. I want to believe him, because I think I said before that I was like, I feel like he might be a good guy just a little bit in this, and then he wasn't. No. I just don't know. I just do not know. But I love to see when they get in the bar and he orders the drink. And there's
the snake guts or whatever it was.
Was it an egg or was it guts? Like, what was it? Like,
they took something out of a snake. I don't know what it was, but I was definitely
right. I was like, and he drinks it, and he's like, my favorite. And I was like, don't speak, just drink it and shut the hell up.
Yeah. And you had the mysterious figure who we figure out who it is later, and put the hood over her head. But yeah. What about Mike? Did you pick up anything in this early scene before they go in the back?
No, I thought I would say like visually the city looked really cool with like the lighting and all that. And I think the Smiling Tiger thing, I think they also said his name was Conrad Mack, and I thought Mack being the last name was kind of like maybe like an Anthony Mackie sort of like sort of play. Maybe not, but I was like that's funny. But yeah, I think I'm also with Eddie in the sense of like Bucky's, I think, like you said, he can switch on Winter Soldier whenever he wants to. I think you see in these couple of episodes, he's trying to like wean off it and become like a regular person, or try to like get rid of his past. But it's so much a part of him that, you know, he really is like, you know, a super soldier, like more than he is like a normal guy. And I think he lies on that. I think he likes it, but he like doesn't like it that he can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I thought that bar scene was a cool bar scene. Sam taking the shot was funny. Because you know, just him going back and forth like, oh, okay. But I mean, if we're also just getting right into that bar scene, I thought the fight scene that Bucky has, I thought that was one of the cooler hand-to-hand combat, like visually, like watching it was a very cool fight scene, like all around. It was simple, but it was like pretty badass the entire time.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I love how they all knew who he was too. Like everybody was like, well, you know, a new haircut. Like they were asking like why you look different. And it's I think it's pardon me. I think it's easier for Bucky to switch over because he remembers. I mean, he remembers every moment of the Winter Soldier. I mean, that you know, he remembers killing everybody. He was tasked with taking care of, and it's just like for him to switch it on and off shouldn't be that hard of a task, especially when you're under pressure.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. All these people recognizing when I was watching Civil War last night. There is the moment when Bucky, you know, when Zemo takes control of him or whatever, where, you know, he's fighting with Black Widow and she says, "You can't even recognize me." So it's, you know, there's this moments where it's like, okay, this dude's he's intertwined in a bunch of people. And I still want to see how that plays out sometime in the MCU. I mean, obviously we've really only got one movie left. I'm kind of hoping for a Bucky appearance somewhere in, you know, Black Widow, but I don't think it can happen. But so yeah, you guys cover. I mean, the fight scene kind of happens because a power broker goon approaches. Zemo asks for somebody named Shelby, who we'll see in a second here. They have the fight scene because Zemo tells Winter Soldier to engage, and he basically beats the crap out of everyone.
Just destroys those people.
Yeah, and then they go into the back room with this, you know, the older woman with white hair named Shelby, and I have no clue who this woman is as far as comic lore or anything. No idea. I think she might have been in one of the Matrix movies, but all of that aside. And by the way, there was a lot of like Matrix themes throughout this, you know, whether it be a rave or something. But I was kind of like, all right, I'm not sure what's happening here, but whatever. Like, I think Sam had some spiked heels that he had to wear, and I was just kind of like, and he even makes a joke later where he's like, I can't run in these heels. And I'm like, this is amazing. But I found it very interesting that Zemo immediately offers Winter Soldier for some serum. And that she mentions Wilford Nagel, that he has a serum and that Power Broker's working with him. But, you know, the scene eventually kind of goes to crap because of a phone call. But there was a lot of conversation here. You know, a lot of stuff explodes. They start going out into the street. But Mike, walk me through where you kind of were as this scene developed and what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was... it almost seemed like super rushed because that girl gave them like basically all the answers they needed like right off the bat. And then she kind of was like, oh, I'm not going to give you everything. And then she gets murdered.
Right.
And, you know, they start running away. There's a whole fight scene, this and that. So I like didn't take much from it other than they got the name of the doctor, which was helpful, but it seemed like it just was like so easy. Like,
yeah.
It was like it really didn't do anything for me because it was so rushed. Like she was an irrelevant. She was helpful to them, but it was kind of just like not an irrelevant scene. But it just was like, okay, that was it. And then she got murdered, and you know, and now they're being helped by Sharon. So
yeah.
I don't know.
What about Eddie?
That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like that was basically to get one name, a fight, and Sharon shows up. You know what I mean? Right. So like, what else did you see here?
I think her name was Selby. I think wasn't it?
Selby?
Selby.
Yeah.
Selby. I think it was Selby.
Yeah. So they get in the room. They're talking to her. She seems like one of those people who's like, she'll give you tidbits. Like, who was the dude in the Matrix when he talks in like riddles? Like
the architect?
Yeah, but not him. But they met him in like a French restaurant. He's like, he talked about causality and all that stuff. It felt very much like him. But I love what she says. Like the breadcrumbs you can get for free, but like the big group costs. I love that little line.
Yeah, that was good.
And then he offers up Bucky, not knowing full well that she can't actually control him. So like he knew that eventually he'd kill her, and I think that was kind of Zemo's way of getting around that. And then when Sam gets the phone call. I love in movies, television shows, no matter what, whenever they're in a situation that requires like finesse or a certain level of awareness, everyone's phone is always on. And so I'm like, how? Like my phone stays on vibrate, so like no one ever knows when I get a call unless I'm looking at my phone. But like, I just find it amazing that like it's always written in the script that a phone goes off and disrupts the whole scene. Like, I'm like, how is that possible? I'm like, you are undercover. How is your phone on right now?
Yeah.
Like the thing should be off and dead to the world.
Yeah. Or it's like it's the reason why it screws them over. Like it's such a very convenient like plot. Like also like I found it funny. Like even if my phone's on vibrate and it rings, like not the whole room can't hear it.
It's not that loud. It's never that loud.
Yeah. It's not that loud. Like it was a loud buzzing. Like he. So I do agree with that. Like it's almost a convenient scenario to unravel the whole thing.
To just keep
because I'm with you. If I was them, I would have my phone off or just not with me.
Right.
I don't know. But
right. And so the phone goes off. And it's his sister, and you're like, "Here we go. Here we go. This can only go downhill from here." Yeah. And so he's trying to twist it. I love how he raises his voice to her, and she was like, "Don't use that tone with me." And you're like, "Oh, she's black." Like 100%. Like, my mom says the exact same thing to me if I ever get like too loud there. It's so funny. So like when the scene happened, and then in the end he's like, "Oh God," and she goes to kill him, and then she gets popped, and you're like, "Well, who shot her?"
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was Sharon.
Oh really?
I don't think she shot her. I don't think it was because I don't
I don't think it was Sharon either.
Because I'm like in the later scene, which we're talking about, she was talking about how like they were kind of using her. So it was like, why would she kill someone that she's unless that's like a twist and we find out later that she did. But I just don't feel like that was her. And then they're running outside. I can't run in these hills. And then Sharon pops two guys and shows up, and then it's her and Zemo, and then she goes off. I mean, like she's just talking about everybody. It's the whole thing. And,
oh my God, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So like that's. Excuse me. That's kind of where we go to next. Let me get a drink here. Hold on.
That's why we stay sipping water.
That's right.
Mike and I.
You just gotta keep drinking. Like that's where we get into the hotel room, basically. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of like that scene to me was really kind of like, what the hell has happened to Sharon? You know what I mean? Like where she said stuff along the lines of, the Stars and Stripe is bullshit. This is all crap. And I was just kind of like, I do not remember her character being this upset and this jaded. And they want her to, they want to help, but she's like, I've been screwed. And we talked about this a little bit beforehand. She's like, I can't go anywhere. Like I am as outcast. You guys can go do what you want. I can't. So, they were just keep going back and forth between the drinks, which I by the way, I always find this hilarious in TV shows, movies, whatever. Seems to always be some sort of counter tray, whatever, with liquor in clear glasses, and everyone opens it and just pours it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know a lot of there are people who do that. I understand that, but you know how many parties I've been to that have that? Oh Mike, maybe you've been to some, I don't know, but like someone gave me that once and I've got some liquor in it, but I never drink from it because I don't know what the hell is in it. And I'm kind of like, I poured it myself. So that's just you guys can chime in on that whenever you get to your stuff, but that's, and this Mike, do you have a comment you want to throw in there? You look like you're itching to.
No, I'm just going to say I have a whiskey decanter that I put my whiskey in. So all
right. Fair enough. Yeah, but I feel like you're more. Thing. Yeah, you're. Of all of our friends, I feel like you'd be the one to have that.
Classy broad.
Whatever. No, that's rude. No, it's just. But it's just they make it to be like a fancy thing. It's a fancy thing.
Yeah, it's everybody's fancy.
No, I think to context to it, maybe they don't have like the rights to show labels of liquor, so that's a way to get around it.
That, you know what? True. I can buy that. That makes me feel better about them doing it. Not gonna lie. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, So Eddie, do you have anything else that you see from this scene, or Mike after? Either way, I mean, I just saw a lot of Sharon being mad. They want her help. She wants her name cleared. That were my main takeaways here.
When you look at Sharon's arc from Winter Soldier to now, she was on SHIELD. She bought into the idea of SHIELD. She thought she was, serving the nation. And then you find out that SHIELD is Hydra. So everything that she was taught is a lie, right? And then you believe Captain America, you're behind this, and you're believing, the whole in what he's trying to push in Civil War. She breaks, she gets the shield and she gets Falcon's wings, and now she's an enemy of the state. So having gone through that much in a handful of years, and then to be snapped, to come back and be exiled from the United States, having not seen your parents, I'd be bitter too. I'd be pretty hot. So I get where she's coming from. But I think she knows that Bucky and Sam aren't there to they're not trying to do harm. They're trying to fix something. And even if they're going about it with ways with Zemo that's just seems a little bit bass backwards, I think she should give them the benefit of the doubt just because of that. And it's Bucky and Sam. What have they done to you specifically? And I love how Sam offers her a way to get back into the States, but she kind of declines it at first, and then he puts his hand down, kind of just makes a promise, because she was I don't take charity, and he goes, no, this is a promise. You help us do this, I'll get you back to back to the U.S. and you'll be cleared. I thought it was great. I love how she's making fun of Bucky and Sam, and so Bucky's wow, she's mean now. I don't like her. I thought that was so good, because she was so lighthearted and fun, and whenever you saw her. And flirty too, but that was Cap. But so, and then you find out she's a total badass. I was oh my god, all right, I knew it. Every SHIELD agent has been a boss, so let's just be real for a second. They all have hand-to-hand combat to a T. I love it. It's great. Yeah, Mike, you got
I mean, I thought her becoming. There's one I'm gonna throw. I know we don't like doing theories, but I'm gonna throw a theory out, which I'm going to say, I think she's not banned from the U.S. I think she's playing some sort of undercover thing.
I like that.
And is being used as exile. And the only reason I say that, and I'm going to reference at the very end of the next scene when they go meet the doctor, and she gets in a car with someone and says, we have two problems. That makes me think that was a very much like a spy being oh, we've got a situation. So I think she might be, it might come out later, she might be this underground art seller and kind of do her own thing and maybe exiled. But I put a little weary in that only with that last scene that I just talked about when we get into the next one. But and it shows how much of a badass she is. I also find it interesting if we can go to the next scene, or not, actually, the one scene I do want to talk about before that is I also find it funny that she has a whole clothing closet for men. A perfect for all three guys are I would say different body types. All of them got brand new swag.
You want to know why?
Why?
Because why not? Why not? The narrative calls for it. We're gonna have it in the episode. I love that. I love that.
There was one part where you were saying, Eddie, you were saying she was super flirty, but when she walked in and Sam's shirtless and she was that's better. I was oh. I was all right, maybe there's a little love connection here.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Which would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, she's definitely, I can understand why she's bitter if all things considered.
True.
That's what her life is now, so makes sense. But also I think she's worked with them before, so she'll do, she'll help them in any way possible. So
sure.
What they do now, when she sets up that party, which I really thought was a very funny scene.
So Eddie's hitting it right now. So I mentioned the Matrix thing earlier. So Zemo dancing memes, what the hell's going on here? I mean,
dude, I swear, the next day, Friday morning, bro, All I'm seeing are memes on Twitter, are just Zemo and all the headlines are like when you're at a house party and don't know anybody, you're just kind of in the corner like by yourself. It was like the funniest things, dude. It was just so funny, dude. But yeah, I think
my favorite was the first.
No, go ahead.
It was first day back in the club after Corona ends.
All right, but like it's just when that clip popped up, I was like, that's gonna be a meme. Like I knew it immediately. Like it was just so funny and so out of character. Like I was just like, that's crazy, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I was kind of like, did I just see what I thought I saw? I'm like, this is okay.
Right. I was hoping that scene was gonna have like kind of like Bad Boys 1 vibes. Like there was a scene where Will Smith and Martin Lawrence they go into like a club to try and find a certain drug dealer, and like the way that Michael Bay kind of shot it, it was very slow moving and kind of like in and out, and it felt like that. It felt like it was gonna start that, but then it never went there. But I think I would have loved it if it did. Just because like, it felt very like intimate, and like you're in this big space, but like everything is so packed because people are dancing on stuff, and like just like the way they move around people is just so elegant. But they didn't do that. It's kind of like it was very fast, like clipped, like one shot, this shot, done, and we're out of here. Like it was quick. So.
Yeah, I feel.
But, yeah.
What about you, Mike? You get anything to add to that before we get into, or you can lead it into, meeting Nagel into the container, with the secret entrance in the lab and all that? Like, what are your takeaways from everything we're seeing here with the Zemo meme all the way to getting to the lab in the shipping yard?
Yeah, no, I mean, the Zemo little quick dance was the most entertaining part of that scene. It was just so simple and like, obviously, it's a nerdy white dude dance, but it was like so perfect. It was so perfect. I was just like, all right, this is, and also like, again, we go back and forth. It kind of makes you like Zemo. Like he's a funny character. Like for him to be like an evil, like war militant baron, just to all of a sudden just be like, all right, I'm vibing this. Like, all right, I don't mind it. And then, they get, they're in a shipping container. They find, the hidden area. Sharon, like, finds it perfect. I don't know how a art party got her all those answers, but it worked.
Hey man, people. That's
and
it.
yeah, and then I guess to get right into it, they meet this doctor, and he kind of basically starts describing everything that he did. And Thor, I don't know if you want to like detail it or.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hit the high levels of it, but yeah, I mean, the part that I picked up a lot, and he doesn't say it, but and I'm glad Sam elaborates on this later, but just, he uses Isaiah's blood, the way he references Isaiah Bradley in his line, obviously, I think Sam brings it up later, is kind of just like, it's a really, I'll beep it, way to, bring up somebody and just like they're this subject, you know what I mean? It's kind of, okay. That he optimizes the serum and that Power Broker is, the one funding this, and that he brings up this Madania or whatever her name is, the Carly Morgenthau friend with tuberculosis, and that Carly stole these serums.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and then obviously Zemo makes it all go to shit, and we see this whole time we see Sharon kicking ass on the outside, but Eddie, throw at me what you got as you're seeing all this stuff happen.
I love how he was saying that he was close to having like the super soldier serum that Erskine worked on back in Cap 1, and then he got snapped away. And 5 years later, he was relevant. Yeah. And then Power Broker was the one person who was able to invest in his whole idea. He made 20 vials. He said 20 specifically. And Carl was that he made 20 or Carly stole 20? How was
I
it
thought it was both. I thought he said he made 20 and Carly stole them all.
Yeah, I think she has 20 total that she stole.
Yeah,
and that's all he made, because they asked if he had any there, and he said no, which I found interesting because he's in a lab with all sorts of stuff. It's like, how is there none in here?
A very concealed lab inside of like multiple shipping containers.
Yeah,
I thought that was
and it's
intense.
like, you have stuff in a vial. How is that not it? Like what?
Right. Unless they were just like not completely created portions of it yet, but maybe it's just concentrated ideas. But like, and so he's telling his backstory about what happened and all that stuff. He comes back, and then we get a curveball when Zemo pops the guy. Yeah. And I was like, first of all, he's roaming the whole laboratory, and no one's second guessing it. Like they're all focused on this guy. But like, I feel like you need to keep your eye on him because he's a wild card. Yeah. Like, and so he finds the gun, which I found even more intriguing. Like, how did he know it was there? Unless he was just guessing, like if I were a doctor in this lab, where would I hide a gun? It'd either be in a drawer or under a desk, like one of the two.
Yeah.
And then he
always
just found
a
it
gun
and just
under
put.
a desk. Always.
Oh, yeah, I've got my gun right here. You know what I mean? Just like, what's the big deal?
But yeah, so I'm sorry, Mike, if you want to add to it.
I also find it interesting. I also thought this guy playing this doctor, he like was fairly young. For because I think he said he worked for Hydra, then CIA, then got dusted, and then came back and worked for the power broker. And the dude looked like 40.
Yeah,
it's like you've been doing this for a long time.
I may have been hustling.
Yeah, maybe he was one of those 18-year-old geniuses who had graduated from MIT earlier or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess that's true. But you know, when all these other scientists that created the serum, they're all super old. So I thought he was like a younger dude to be doing it. The one interesting thing I thought of that was that kind of makes sense, especially with the Flag Smashers, is how he created the serum, which doesn't change your body. It basically like adjusts to who you are, so it doesn't make you jacked, and like it just gives you the power. So you could be like Carly, like just a young girl, and she can just kick ass. So it's almost like a better super serum.
Yeah, it doesn't jack your body up like it did for Cap. Like he clearly had a transformation where most of these people just seem normal.
Right. This one's more concentrated, probably. It's like it's more focused.
Could be, yeah.
So I think that might be interesting. Caveat, especially going down the later episodes, if other people take the serum or whatever's left. Zemo killing him right when they did, I feel like again that it stinks because he was giving everything away, and I feel like there was probably more answers that he could have given, like who the power broker was or what's going on. But obviously, it gives life to the show. But yeah, I'm with Eddie of like how you tell Zemo not to move.
Yeah, ever. If we can go back when they were in the shop when Zemo first walks in, he goes, "If you even move in a way that we don't like, we'll kill you." Like they literally warned him, and then no one was watching him. I was like, "Bro, what are we doing?" Like, oh my god,
it was definitely a bit. No, you guys are on point. There was definitely a little kind of question. It's like, all right, he's just gonna randomly walk around, and I think at some point they'll play out obviously why Zemo killed him so quick. Part of me just thinks like he just doesn't want anybody messing with serum. Part of me is like, this dude knows something about Zemo, whether Zemo's tied to the power broker, is the power broker something that Zemo just didn't want everybody to know. So we'll see. Did you guys catch where the bomb came from when everything started blowing up and they went and fight? I just didn't see how that happened.
Yeah. So when Sharon was getting beat up, so Zemo shoots him, and I also find it interesting when they're wearing the earpiece communication. Like Sharon's in full-out fights, just like yelling and like screaming. It's like you can hear her, like something is going on.
Yeah, thank you. Continue.
But someone, there was one of the vigilant or bad guys, let's call it, took a rocket and rocketed the.
That's what I missed. Okay, all right, yeah. I might have been taking notes during that.
Literally right after he got shot, the doctor.
Okay.
So it was like a very timing thing. That's what it was. It was basically a missile launch into the thing.
All right. So basically, I mean, the whole next scene is essentially these guys just fighting. There's some more Sam and Bucky, a good or like buddy cop type drama, character development, which I enjoyed. Probably my favorite scene, I mentioned this before we started shooting, is when they get into the car when Zemo drives up. And Zemo puts on the mask, by the way, before I get to the car scene and shoots some people, shows like he's still a legit badass. So I'm like, all right, this is the way he's supposed to be, because he was in either Civil War. They show, or is either I forget. One of the MCU movies, they say about how he was this assassin or part of the squad and led it. So he shows that a little bit, but then he pulls up in this dope car, and Sam's in the back seat and Buck's in the front, and he goes, "You're not gonna move up, are you?" And he goes, "Nope." And literally, this is like the smallest Easter egg tie to a movie ever. Is the same thing happened in Civil War, but the roles reversed with Sam in the front and Buck in the back. And when they were in that little bug with Captain America, and I'm just like, Marvel, man, you guys do some good work here. You guys tie things together nicely. So I really did. I did like that. And then, you know, the part where I want to throw in is like, Mike, I think you mentioned it earlier, where Sharon gets picked up by somebody, which is clearly like, all right, she's connected, which could be fine. That's, you know, the Matterport stuff is, you know, she clearly is connected. But when she says we've got a problem, actually we've got two problems, which make you think Sam and Bucky. I was like, what? You know, so there's some spy twisty thing here. And we talked about this a little bit beforehand, and I'm gonna throw this theory out there. What if she's the power broker? Okay, go.
Go ahead, Mike.
Very, very possible, but the only caveat to that is I think the guys that were attacking them in there are the power brokers guys. So
good point.
I don't know why she'd be fighting and killing.
What if people don't really know she's the power broker? She's that stealth.
Right. I mean, yeah, it could be that situation too, but I don't hate it. But
okay,
I think there might be a little loophole. But I thought that fighting scene, I think Eddie mentioned it. She's a total badass throughout that time.
Yep.
Also, Zemo, he can kick ass. I mean, I thought that whole scene where, you know, he blows up the gas tank in front of him and then starts beating everyone up with the mask on. You can tell he's a formidable opponent. Yeah. Because there's even that one part when the explosion happens, and I think Bucky and Sam think he like escapes, but then he shows up and does help them. So you obviously can't trust him, but at least, you know, for right now, he's helping them out. I think he's helping them out because he does want to get to the super soldiers and I think get rid of them. I think that's his mindset, because that's his mindset in general. But there was that one part where you were like, is he going to turn on him? And then he helps them, and you're like, oh, all right.
I definitely thought he was bouncing. Definitely thought you were right there.
But that scene with Sharon, when she says we have a problem, especially, I don't know who that character she was talking to was, but it seemed very much, and that's why it goes back to my theory, that she's still either working for the government and is like a spy within Matterport to try to maybe find who the power broker is herself for whatever government he's working for. But yeah, the two problems, I don't know if that meant Bucky and Sam, or if that meant Zemo and the power broker, or what, or it was just a weird. It makes you also question Sharon, like, what's her deal? So I'm with you. There's something going on with her for sure.
What about you, Eddie?
You know, Mike, I think Mike hit everything on the head there. Just a lot of fun points. Zemo shows up with the mask. Everybody was waiting for that moment, because I mean, you saw in the trailer when he's walking out with the mask in his hand, he puts it on, which he got on there relatively quick, by the way. And then and then he pops down, just handles a bunch of people, which we never saw in Civil War. We didn't know he had that kind of we'll call it badassery. Yeah. And then they're all running around, and then I know that they went into a container. Sharon, Falcon, and Bucky, they all get into a container, and then he's walking along, and then he finds the container with the car inside. They pull the car out, and then they get in, and they go on their way. But yeah, with Sharon, I don't know. You know, I don't know who the other woman was in that scene with her. And they have two problems. You could be right, Thor. Maybe one is Bucky and Sam. Maybe two problems could be Power Broker and Zemo. So we don't really know the clarity of the two problems.
Yeah, but, a lot of different directions that could go for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take it at face value. I'm so tired of making predictions, just being so aggressively wrong. So
I know that's what Marvel does, man.
Yeah, dude. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna sit back. But yeah, to do the whole are you gonna move your seat up? Yeah. No. Yeah. Marvel loves fan service, and I love that they love it, because it just. It's the little things. It's the little things that make it. It's like Jimmy Woo's card trick in WandaVision. You're like, yes, dude, he figured it out. Like it's just small things that make you happy now.
No, so. I feel you. So the next scene is it's minor, but again, it's Carly and the Flag Smashers, and the more just like pulling on your heartstrings to like care for her. You know, where she wants to. The things I took away from this scene is that she wants to give to the world to the kids in this camp. Like, she cares about these kids, these disadvantaged people. She wanted to be a teacher. She maybe wants to go back to that. And just the fact that she seems like a decent person. That was everything. It was a short, small scene, but that was the point to the scene to me. So, either of you guys, I mean, was that kind of what you took away from that scene as well?
I think it was just simple character. I think it was just simple character development. Thank you, Mike. I think it was just simple character development just to get an idea of who she is. More of who she is. I mean, when we first see her, all she does is smile, and you're like, oh, she's cool, and she kicks Bucky out the car, out the truck. So to find out more about who she is as a person is great. She has a great heart, but I think the approach is more than what it needs to be. So, but Mike, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting to the point of she is basically kind of like a Robin Hood type thing. Like she's doing everything to give back to people who need help. Like going into they're outside of the facility. And I think the facility was part of, referencing what I referenced in the very beginning, that commercial for the
GRC global, or whatever it is.
The GRC. I think that was a GRC building.
Base.
And I actually, like, now that I think about it, all the scenes where they're stealing stuff from, I think they're just stealing stuff from the GRC, which, again, that Kumbaya commercial, they're trying to help everyone. I think they're going to be either part of the power broker situation or not good. But yeah, she's definitely like trying to take from the, call it rich, and give to the poor. And this plan that she sets out in the next scene, minus the end of it, shows like she's literally just trying to feed people. And people in her base. Yeah,
and so before that scene that Mike's referring to comes up, we get another real quick character development scene with our buddy John Walker and Hopkins, where they're basically saying they're going to chase Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's going to be off the books, and that's what John wants. So, again, go Eddie. Yeah.
Dude. The very last line he says, he was like, who cares what happens as long as we, like who cares who dies as long as we get the job done? You're like, but what?
Yeah.
And that's kind of reference to the comics where like he just like his whole character just goes off on people and just like takes lives just to get information. It's very much kill first, ask questions later. But yeah, that was kind of a night like that. It's been hinting at that since the episode started.
Yeah. Mike, anything else to add to John Walker's a dick?
No, he's just a dick. I would say him wanting to go off the books and off the rails. I think that's he's looking at it like he's this, I want to say, like, badass who can kind of do whatever he wants, and he's like, I'm Captain America. I don't have rules.
Right.
I can't wait for him to go up against Bucky and Sam, who've do that. Like, I think he's gonna lose whatever fight eventually happens between them very quickly. I don't think it's gonna be. But this whole thing of he's just going off the rails, and it's so interesting. He went from 0 to 60 of just not giving a crap about. He was apparently the soldier who did a bunch of missions and won all these medals, to now like the military and the rules are like below him.
Yeah, the trigger happy.
That shield's getting to his head, and that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, part of it was there, but yeah, he sucks.
So it should be interesting if he's being hot, like the reason he's being how he's being is due to someone fueling it, or it's just like the power going to his head where he wants to do it himself.
Yep, I feel you.
Because he does seem pretty. And he does seem pretty like his means are finding the Flag Smashers. Like all he wants to do is find the Flag Smashers, which is very interesting because the only other people who want to try to find them other than Bucky and Sam is the Power Broker and his crew. So it's like, that's why I think the GRC might be connected to the Power Broker, because they were literally searching for them. So it's an interesting thing of who's really telling him what to do.
Yeah, and then we get Falcon and Winter Soldier with Zemo back in the plane. Sam makes a call to Torres, just where they're searching, or he's having them help search for it. I forget exactly who it was, but just keeping Torres in the storyline. And Sam starts talking to Buck about how maybe Sam should have destroyed the shield. And, this was the part where Sam was clearly very upset that, they just use Isaiah like he was no one, which, again, makes you be, this is where it gets you start tying in some potential racial implications also with Sam and the whole donning the shield type thing. And, I liked it. It was a small development, but I liked where it was still like, you know what, Sam's struggling with the shield situation. Whereas, you know, last week we talked about, we want him to have the shield. We want him to have the shield. And now he's like, I should just destroy it. I don't want it. I want to destroy it. No one should use this. So he's clearly still struggling with the idea that he should take it. I'm still curious to see if at some point Isaiah comes back around and says, look, you know, like, you do need to do this, you know, and I don't know if they'll do that or not, but I'll be curious. And then Bucks just straight up says, I'm stealing the shield. Like, I'm taking it. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's fine. You know, and then they go look for Carly. So, Eddie, do you have anything that kind of your takeaways from this scene or anything to add?
No, I think it was just a simple scene for me, mostly. You know, I think we're getting a lot of like next assignment is this one, and this one. Like, these are the things we're gonna do. We'll get them done and done. I mean, like, we know they obviously get the shield because we've seen it in multiple trailers. We just don't know how it's gonna get done yet.
Yeah.
I am curious how they will run into John Walker and get it, and how they manage to whoop the hell out of him. I can't wait for that. But yeah, that's really all I have for that scene.
Now, before we go over to Mike and his opinion, what if those trailers, by the way, never show up in the episodes?
Oh my God, I would love it. I'd be so happy because they always do that.
Yeah. Anyway, Mike,
they always do that.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, that would be mean and rude.
That'd be rude behavior.
But yeah, I thought it was just a setup again. I'm with Eddie where I thought this whole episode was a setup episode for what's to come.
Yep.
And they're kind of just putting their ducks in a row. But again, I think you see like Bucky thinks this shield is so important, not only to him, but to Sam specifically, that you know, he all like this whole time, all Bucky wants to do is steal the shield. Like, they've been doing all this stuff, and he's like, we need it back. We need the shield. So I also definitely think Isaiah will come back into play at some point.
Sure.
I think it's a conversation him and Sam need to have where it maybe gives Sam the confidence to take on the mantle. Because in that conversation, it goes back to a couple of the earlier episodes where Sam still seems hesitant to want to take on this important role. He's shunning it, and Bucky's saying, you know, it's important. You need, like, he needs it. You need it. Like, so I think they will get the shield, and the trailer isn't a lot.
We'll see. So the next scene, again, this is the Carly scene we've kind of been alluding to a little bit. They're at some sort of, whether it's a GRC facility or a military facility. They've got everybody tied up. They steal a bunch of stuff that they said, you know, and they told the guy from the military, we're fighting for our lives, you know, and you feel for them a little bit. They're like, you have 6 months of supplies here, you know, we're dying, and you're just sitting on this. And then they're in the car, and it's like, oh, okay, these guys are all nice. This is sweet. And then she just blows up the entire thing. And even the dude she's with is like, what? And she's like, this is the only way they understand, or the only thing they understand. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so now you're making me question whether I need to like you in your mission or not. Great. So, Mike, where were you at with that?
I mean, again, there's always that switch where a bad guy is doing something where you kind of understand why he's doing it, and then, you know, she kills an entire group. Now, again, I think that group of people, the GRC, are bad. So I think those soldiers aren't necessarily good guys, but it's still definitely a turn. And putting them in a level where, you know, they're now terrorists, more or less. Like, before, they were stealing medicine, food, and supplies, and now they're, you know, attacking, I don't want to call them innocent people yet, but, you know, they tied them up, they took everything they needed to, they could have just left them, but, and also, she does make a comment where she says, you know, now we've got their attention, or something like that. Yeah. And I wonder whose attention she's trying to talk to, whether that's the world's attention, or whether specifically the power broker, or what. But yeah, I thought that's like the one, like, all you do is that one little thing, and you're now a bad guy.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah. You got any more, Eddie?
I agree with that. I feel like that was like her turning point. Because again, like you, Thor, it started off like, oh, okay, it's just gonna take this stuff. You got 6 months of supplies. That's terrible. They tie them all up and then they leave, and then they'll figure it out when people show up to get them free. And then they get in the car and she's like, put your seatbelt on. And he's like, why? And then all of a sudden, like a second later, the whole place explodes. And you're like, whoa, like. And she's very to the point with like, this is the only way they listen. And you're like, dude, okay. And like Mike said, that moment there, you just became a bad guy. Like now you've made the transition over. Before you were kind of like you were kind of that Robin Hood vigilante type, and now you are literally the bad guy. And so yeah, that's it was tough because she seems like a pretty cool chick, and she's got like she's got her head on straight, and she has the right goal in mind. Just you've turned over now.
Yep. No, I'm with you for sure. So, and then right after this, it's just Falcon, Winter Soldier, Zemo, a trio walking. Do you guys recall who they're going to see at this point?
Not sure.
I don't remember if it's
on the plane.
Yeah, I know that they were. Let's see, they were searching for somebody, but what I wrote down, it doesn't make sense. It was Madney, but that could have been an autocorrect on my notes there that I just didn't fix, so I can't remember off the top of my head. But regardless, that's not what the takeaway of the scene is. Is that Bucky decides that he wants to, you guys go ahead, I'll catch up, and starts picking up these little balls, which I meet him like, wait a minute, I recognize those, and he picks up a few and he walks into an alley and he's just looking around and picked up another. I was wondering when you were going to show up. Turns around and for a second, I'm like, is this gonna be like a new Black Panther? Is this gonna be Shuri? Like, who's this gonna be? Is it gonna be a Okoye? Like who? Now I didn't recognize the kind of warrior it was.
You didn't?
No, who was it?
Dude, okay, she was in Civil War.
She's the lieutenant.
Yeah, dude.
So she's the same one. So she was the one who was with BP when he was walking, and she told Black Widow, like, get out of the way or I'll move you. I was wondering if that was her.
Dude.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was her or not, but I was kind of like, as far as all the Wakandans, like that one scene, yeah, I remember from Civil War, but I was like, the rest of them were like the ones I mainly mentioned. Like Okoye, I still look at as like, she's the main warrior, like Wakandan guard, right? So, like I mentioned at the front end of this, we got so many people weaving in and out of this thing, and they threw this in there, and straight up, like I was definitely like, all right, I was not expecting Wakanda in this show at all. Like, it never even thought of me for a second. So, Mike, what small scene, small things, but where you at? What'd you see? How you feel about Wakanda being in the episode?
I like it. I think it's gonna be pretty badass, especially that lieutenant or whatever her number 2. She's pretty badass. I didn't expect it, but as soon as I saw those little balls, I was like, oh, all right, things are getting weird. So I think I'm interested to see where it goes, because this is either a scenario where now Sam and Bucky potentially have to fight the Wakandan, because she wants Zemo. That's what she said.
For sure.
Like, so Bucky knows that they need Zemo currently. So either she works with them and then they're, gonna take Zemo back as a prisoner or something like that, or now there's a new conflict where you have to protect Zemo from her and fight her off. So it's going to be pretty interesting where the next episode takes it. Like, you don't know what's going to happen with that. We'll see. The White Wolf, she went after the White Wolf, so we'll see where it goes. But it was definitely a cool scene the whole time.
Yeah.
Just how she popped up too. Like, he was like, I know you're here, and then she's like behind him. It's they always do that, but it's still cool whenever it's done in movies.
Yeah. Where are you at, Eddie?
Okay. First of all, Thursday night I fell asleep, so I didn't see the ending. I saw it Friday morning, and when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "What?" And so I half expected them to show up, because I think there was a line in one of the earlier episodes where they said, do you think Wakanda's forgotten about so and so, and then they they haven't, and then she shows up, and you're like, "Yo." All right, and so like when the beads start showing up, and then he picks up one after the other, it's almost like a breadcrumb trail.
Yep.
And then she spots him, and she's standing there behind him, and she has that she has a look to her that just says like, I'm ready to murder somebody. And you're like, I cannot wait to see it. Like, and so when she asks for Zemo, like Mike said, I think there's either they're gonna have a conflict there because they need him for something else more than she needs him for something else.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna kind of like, as the I love this word. They're gonna be in cahoots together, and they're gonna work with Zemo, and she's gonna like wait patiently, and then they're gonna give him to her.
Yeah.
Somehow it's gonna work out, but one of those two things will happen for sure.
I got you. Yeah. So that was the end of the episode. I liked it. Like we said, setup type episode. It was good. We'll see. 3 episodes left. So I feel like there's a lot that could be played out in 3 50-ish minute episodes. I'm looking forward to it. Again, can't wait to see these guys more and more in the future. Any last second ads that you guys want to cover before we move on or get out of here?
Just excited.
Yeah.
Just excited.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, appreciate.
No, it's like I said.
Oh, Mike.
Yep. Get it. Go hit it. Hit it. Go.
No. I was just gonna say, like I said, I think it was a good filler episode. Nothing crazy, move the needle, but I think the next 3 episodes are gonna ramp up big time.
Yeah, I think so too. So if you made it this far, appreciate you. You know, like what I mentioned earlier, click that Discord link in the description below, subscribe button. We're doing a 10K giveaway once we get to 10,000 subscribers. So, you know, hit that subscribe button. We're getting closer and closer every day. You know, hammer down that like button, notification bell, all the goodness, and we'll continue to be doing these videos. And I'm trying, as soon as I get my Justice League, you know, video that I edited with these 2 sexy guys, we'll get it out there because there's some news on that front too. Gosh darn it, but I just can't get it uploaded. So we'll get that out there soon. And yeah, hopefully you guys are still enjoying the content. So yeah, until next time, hope you guys all have a wonderful day. See ya.